let's take a look at what it means to walk in a faith journey and how that's going to play out in the end times concerning the coming deception. I know we're kind of a little bit off the mark, if you will, here tonight, but I can tell you it's on the mark in terms of what this great deception is going to look like and how deceiving it's going to be. The practitioners of the Talmud have already made it perfectly clear with the declaration concerning this coming third temple, that the third temple is going to be a temple for all nations and for all faiths, except those idolaters who follow Yahushua HaMashiach. That's not considered a faith. That's considered blasphemy and idolatry. And when you see that, the deception that's going to come on the world, I mean, we see this deception coming very strong, and it says the deception will be so great, even the elect might be deceived. Because in your heart, you will want to be deceived, because the choice of either being deceived or not being deceived may mean life or death. And in some cases, it may be a slow, punishing death through starvation. And so you see in the Chinese social credit system, they are engaging people, and they're saying now, for instance, if your credit score gets too low in China, you have to get to the back of the line to buy a bus ticket, or you have to get to the back of the line to buy a plane ticket, or you have to get to the back of the line to buy food. And ultimately, that's going to result in genocide with people not being able to buy anything at all, and they're just going to die from starvation. And in the meantime, here comes this ecumenical temple that's saying, look, under the Noahide laws, which are going to be imposed worldwide, they're trying to impose these Noahide laws worldwide. Now, bear in mind, the Noahide laws don't exist in Scripture. The Ten Commandments exist in Scripture. The Noahide laws do not exist in Scripture. Noahide laws were made up by rabbis. They're not even consistent. When you talk about the laws given to Noah, if you look in the book of Jubilees, you'll see 5 laws given to Noah, none of which are codified in the quote-unquote Noahide laws created by the rabbis, which they just simply made up. And they made them up in order to impose them on the Gentiles. And they say to themselves, we get the Torah, you get the Noahide laws. But actually, the truth is, they get the Talmud, and the rest of the world gets the Noahide laws. And under those Noahide laws, they declare to be idolatry, to be blasphemy. And speaking the name of Yahweh Sebaot, El Chadosh Echad Yesharel, speaking that name is a form of blasphemy, and entering into any church or building that exalts the Mashiach is considered idolatry and ultimately blasphemy, punishable under the Talmud by decapitation. So once this temple is built, and once the world acquiesces and says, gee, the nascent Sanhedrin should become the world Supreme Court, they already have the Masonic temple built for it in Jerusalem to handle this question, then the nascent Sanhedrin will be making decisions about who will be beheaded and who won't. And if you look in the Gospels, the Gospel says you will be brought up in front of the synagogue, in front of the Sanhedrin, and you will be persecuted. And this is what it says in Revelation as well. You'll be brought up in front of the Sanhedrin in the synagogue. Well, this is coming. And we see now that this business to split Jerusalem and to make West Jerusalem the capital of Israel and East Jerusalem the capital of the Palestinian state, when you see the gay rights parades being paraded up and down the streets of Jerusalem, you can say that the prophecy in Revelation 11 has been accomplished. It says this will take place in Egypt and in Sodom and where Mashiach was crucified. Well, of course, many of the Palestinians are Egyptian in nationality. Nobody wants to admit that. But you have basically, 3 groups. You have Jordanians, you have some Lebanese, very few, mostly Jordanians, and Egyptians. And the Egyptians are going to claim East Jerusalem as its capital. That will become Egypt. West Jerusalem has become Sodom. It's already Sodom. So it has become Sodom. This is the place where Mashiach was crucified. This prophecy is complete in your sight today. Okay, so when we look at this deception, once the Sanhedrin is created as the world court and the Vatican is established as the executive branch over the whole world, and we're very close to this right now. We're certainly very close to this in the United States. Then you're going to see the world, the impetus inside the Christian church is going to be to acquiesce to the idea that Jesus was a prophet, a nice guy, and all this other stuff, but somehow he's going to be delegated down from being the Ben Elohim, being the Hamashiach predicted in Scripture. And there's a tremendous number of anti-missionaries out there that are just beating the drum, particularly in the Hebrew roots movement and in the Torah observant movement. They're beating the drums, denouncing Paul, and trying to talk many of the believers out of their faith in Mashiach, saying, oh, that scripture didn't say that, this scripture didn't say that, that doesn't mean this, that doesn't mean that, while they nuance a Hebrew text, which most of the Torah observant community does not know well enough to be able to stand against it. So we have this deception that's coming is going to be a techno-fascism, and at the backside of the techno-fascism, you're going to see a world Supreme Court run by the nascent Sanhedrin imposing an international Noahide law that they claim is somehow moral, with them deciding which is the ultimate morality, and the Vatican operating as the executive branch, using the United States as its military arm. Okay. And how many people then will be able to stand up for their faith? You know, there's a push right now to make sure that if you're in a Christian church, you come under the umbrella of Rome. But if you're not in a Christian church, if you're Torah observant, or if you're in the Roots community, or if you're in a Messianic movement, or something like this, or the Black Hebrew Israelite movement, or whatever, that push is to have you captured into Judaism. There is no room for the freedom of the movement to have the testimony of Mashiach and to guard the commandments.
Two, three.
And you know, when you talk about being a stranger and inheriting the tribe, you know, if you're a stranger, there's been some very good movies out there about guys that have been introduced to, for instance, the First Nation tribes in the United States, like, you know, Dancing with Wolves is one, that would be an interesting show, or Little Big Man is another, where you have a person who comes from, you know, let's call it an Anglo-Saxon background, and they end up being exposed to the tribes for some period of time, and then they become sojourners with the tribe. In other words, they take on the language, they take on the customs, they take on the practices, they take on the ideas, and they become that kind of a person. Now, ultimately, the guy in Dances with Wolves was ostracized from the community and, you know, totally taken out of his position and so forth, because they had seen him as a convert. But this is where we really come into this. And so when we say, okay, we're going to sojourn with a particular tribe, one tribe or another. Now, when Yahushua, of course, Yahushua comes from the tribe of the Jews. However, he comes from the tribe of the Yahudim. Now, when we talk about this, we have to talk about some of the delicate subjects that are before us today, which is that during the time of Yahushua, how many of the people who claimed to be Yahudim were actually Yahudim, compared to how many people were imposters claiming to be Yahudim who were not? We know for a certainty that Herod the Great was not Jewish. And we know that many of his ministers that he had appointed to key positions of power inside of Israel were not Jews either. In fact, many of them were Edomites or Moabites or Ammonites, or even of the slave classes of Egypt that had moved into positions of power and were elevated because they had married women who were reportedly Jewish women, Yahudi women. And when you start talking about the Yahudis around the world at that time, there were a much greater population of Yahudim in Babylon during the time of the Mashiach than there was in Jerusalem. I think it was probably a similar situation down in Mecca and Medina as well. It was probably a very similar population of Yahudim in those cities. And, you know, and even possibly out in this river valley as well, where you had a significant population of Yahudim. And so when you look at the customs and you say, well, what are the customs if we're going to be in this tribe of HalleluYAH? What are the customs? Well, the beauty of it is that HalleluYAH, for one, gave us so many examples of what it is to follow him and to follow his footsteps. And he said, my yoke is easy and my burden is light. This is a very important teaching. My yoke is easy and my burden is light. Because we're not burdened down with 613 mitzvot. We're not burdened down with another, 1,000 or 2,000 or 3,000 halakas that come out of the Mishnah. But instead, we have a very simple kind of formula and a way to live life, and a way to live life that calls us to a standard of excellence without burdening us with a whole body of regulations that may or may not have any relevance. I mean, when you're talking about, you need to have a grain offering and an incense offering, and, you have to kill 2 birds over here, and don't forget to participate in all of those rules were fine for the house of Yasharel. But they were not retained in the Ark of the Covenant. What was retained in the Ark of the Covenant was the stones of the 10 Commandments, right? That's what was contained in the Ark of the Covenant, because that's what's inside the covenant. And so, you're talking about a life that is, I think it's a gentle life, and it's a beautiful life. It's a life that you're called to natural things. You're called to simplicity. You're called to one man, one woman in marriage, to try to live out your life as in a singular family. You're called to honesty and integrity in your job. You're called to not be a murderer or a liar or somebody who is of anger, to be at peace with your neighbor. And you're also called to the duties, right? The duty of feeding the hungry and clothing the naked and looking after the widow and the orphan, and also visiting those in prison. And those things are kind of called out for us. And it's also a walk that is free of worry, right? Just worry about today, for tomorrow will have its own burdens. And so I think you need to look at your life and you need to say, is my yoke easy and is my burden light? If it's not, you're carrying around somebody else's baggage. You're not carrying around Yahushua baggage. Because his yoke is easy, his burden is light. And ultimately, the truth of that whole proposition is this relationship with a creator who has created something really magnificent. And his creation is enough, right? His grace is enough, and his creation is enough. And to find a natural walk in life with the things that he has provided, without interpolating things like, I got to have more pharmakia in my life, or I need to have more of this and more of that, or I have to have this synthetic that or this. All that kind of construct is going to mean nothing to you on your deathbed. What will mean something to you on your deathbed is how you live your life, how you maintain your relationships with your families, with your friends, and more importantly, how you have walked in the garden with Yah himself. Those are the big deals. And, it's a wonderful thing. It's not a burdensome thing at all. It's a wonderful thing.
You say, and I don't say this often to other men on the show, great hair.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Doesn't come up a lot.
Thank you.
Yeah, really.
Thank you. It means a lot coming from you. You are the king of hair. You have the only remaining pompadour in the business. So
It's true.
Between me and you.
No one has the nerve to sport this thing anymore.
no, but they.
All right. Yeah. All right.
Yes. Yeah, so I'm the only black comic with a perm. So between the two of us, we've got the niche industry already hooked up.
Let me also ask about the jewelry. This is nice.
Thank
This
you.
jewelry.
Yeah, I'm becoming the new Liberace, it appears. Everybody wants to talk about the jewelry. I just need the motivation. I need to look down and see I'm doing something and keep me excited about things.
Right.
Yeah.
So you look down, you see like, oh, things are good.
Things are good. Don't worry about the economy, the recession, the mortgage, gas prices. Just ignore all that. Yeah.
That's a great message for everyone, I think. Now, let's talk about this. I know that we all have heroes in show business.
Yeah.
One of your all-time heroes, I'm told, is Prince, and you got to meet him fairly recently. How did that go?
It was wonderful. He was all the things I thought he was going to be. He was he's a genius and smart, and I think he's David Blaine secretly. He's like a
David
magician.
Blaine, you think he's a magician?
I think he is. I was talking to him, and he was like, would you care for some tea? And I was like, yeah, of course and he was gone. He was already gone. Then he came back from another part of the room with like a tray with 13 teas on it. It was like, it was amazing.
Now he's very mysterious. He
Yes,
loves to have all
yes.
this mystery, and you don't know where he's going, what he's doing, what he's talking about half the time.
No, and he'll wear pumps and be looking at you like there's nothing wrong.
He commits so much to wearing pumps that it works.
Yes, it makes you think about it. Like, could I get away with it on the basketball court maybe one time?
Now, are you taller than Prince? How does that work out?
He's cheating. He's got pumps on. I can't live up with that. I'm gonna say I'm taller just because he's not here.
Right.
Yeah.
That'll work. He
You
could
wouldn't know
appear
nothing.
suddenly right now.
13
You're
feet.
speaking about me. Okay, let's talk about the height issue. Did your height affect you? Do you think growing up, did it influence your life, your comedy?
I think so. It made me very cynical and bitter. But I had heard about a growth spurt, and it was like the Loch Ness legend. Like, everybody gets a growth spurt, and it's gonna happen, and just wait. It's gonna be one summer, and everything's gonna change. And I'm grown now, and I'm still waiting.
You still
that
waiting?
Summer to come.
You're still waiting on this growth spurt.
Yes.
It could happen,
It
you know.
could. Maybe I'm just late. I'm willing to wait.
It's gonna happen like that.
hope so.
Do you think that this affected your relationship with women, your success with women?
It made me try really hard because women want tall, dark, and handsome, and I wasn't able to fulfill any of those. So when I got a woman, I really tried hard. I think short guys make better lovers just because once we get on, we don't want to get off.
Did you, okay, all these images are going through
I know,
my
that
head.
came out right.
Wait, not yet. Did you ever date a much taller woman?
Yeah, I dated a WNBA player once. She was 6'3".
Really? 6'3"?
Yeah, and I thought it was gonna be, I don't know, it was just weird. Like, because I was proud that it didn't matter in the relationship, but it's still like you're a kid holding your mom's hand. Where did you so lift me up and kiss me. It just
Yeah. Now, I guess you have a bunch of friends who are rappers, is that right?
Mhm.
And you maintain, comedians and rappers. You think that rappers are funnier than comedians, is that true?
I'm saying some of these rap guys are just hilarious. Like, I didn't understand that they were that funny. Like, Snoop is just really hilarious.
Snoop
Like,
Dogg is funny,
he's doing all these things. He's got 2 TV shows. He's doing a movie. He's got 3 albums. He's coaching football. He's doing a show about being a father. And you hear he's high, and you're like, I can't get out of the room if I'm high. How is he doing all
Remarkable
this stuff?
man,
Like,
yeah.
He really is. But yeah, the rap world has just been amazingly hilarious to find out how many funny guys are out there.
Yeah, well, and also they have their own language and just their way of living, and they just this bravado, and it works.
You know all about it. You're there with us at the parties.
It's true. Yeah, I'm a fixture at every rap party. Hiya, fellas, how's it going?
Ladies and gentlemen, the pompadour.
Yeah. Well, where's the fondue? I'll put on a Monkeys album.
Not a Negro function without fondue, that's for sure.
you know, we've been talking about this a lot of things here, and one of the things that I wanted to mention is that you have your own clothing line. This is real, right? You're coming in with your own clothing line.
Yeah,
I want to make sure I get to this before we go. Tell us about the clothing line.
It's called Secret Pimp Society. Because, you know, everybody's not able, and it's a good thing to be able to find somewhere where you can just find wonderful fly clothes that nobody else is going to have on but you.
Right.
And that becomes important.
And this works for everybody. Would this work for me?
Yeah. Oh, are you kidding? That
You just started changing
It
your
looks
mind.
like you just changed into it right now. You are the Secret Pimp Society right now.
I'm the pimp that's heavily more to the finance side.
Yes.
No. This is not looking good this quarter. Yeah. Well, let me mention this, a few things. American Hustle is now available on DVD. Kat's going to be at the Gibson Amphitheater in Los Angeles June 26th, 27th, and 28th as part of the It's Pimpin' Tour.
Exactly.
I'm going to come in right in the middle and serve fondue. That's going to be really big. You are very funny and great to talk to. Please come back soon, and congratulations on all your success. HalleluYAH. We'll be back with Thrice. Stick around.
I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed. I've failed over and over and over again in my life. And that is why I succeed. Maybe it's my fault. Maybe I led you to believe it was easy when it wasn't. Maybe I made you think my highlights started at the free throw line and not in the gym. Maybe I made you think that every shot I took was a game winner. That my game was built on flash and not fire. Maybe it's my fault that you didn't see that failure gave me strength, that my pain was my motivation. Maybe I led you to believe that basketball was a God-given gift and not something I worked for every single day of my life. Maybe I destroyed the game. Or maybe you're just making excuses.
Have you ever gone on the court and been afraid? No, I've never been afraid. I mean, obviously you're nervous, but afraid means you're not confident in your skills. I have total confidence in my skills, so I'm not afraid.
You had the utmost confidence. The confidence level was through the roof. Where's it now?
On top of the roof. I don't think my confidence changed. I wouldn't have come back into this situation.
I never feel that I'm at my best. I feel I still have room to improve. I still set goals for myself to strive for. I'm never complacent with what I've achieved. Even though it's been very successful for me, I still feel I have a lot to prove, not just as a player, but as a person, as a father, to some extent, as a role model, in all aspects. So I'm never really too complacent with myself or with what I've achieved. When I get to a point where I feel I can improve as a player, I walk away from the game. I still feel that I have a plateau that, I hadn't reached yet in terms of my skills or my expectations of myself. I'm always going to expect myself to do certain things or surpass certain things. As long as I believe that, then, my road to success is going to continue to expand.
Sports is a tool that teaches, and it teaches you bad things. It can also teach you good things. It's how you perceive those things. I've looked at every experience that I've had, negative and positive, and taken that as a positive. If I wouldn't change anything because I think it would alter some of the other things I have. So when I look back, I can't say that I've had any bad things happen. Sure, I mean, you don't want bad things to happen, but you deal with bad things. You can't have good or without bad. We're all old. Sure, we're tired. It's been a long season, but mentally, we have vision. We have a finish that we have to attain. And sometimes you have to do it when you're old and you're tired, and I think it's the test of your will to succeed when you have to deal with some of these negatives. And I'm pretty sure by the end of this playoffs, you'll see the old and the tired people were very, very young and strong mentally. I feel like I'm the most fierce competitor there is. I don't think I'm ever going to find something equal to the game of basketball for me.
They talk about guys being competitors. He was the fiercest of all the competitors.
I know Jesus worked 7 days a week. On 6 days, he rested on Sunday, didn't he? But Michael Jordan played on Sunday.
An assassin personified that had that killer instinct.
I'm not sure people really know how good this guy is.
Michael Jordan at his best, there's very few people on this planet that can do this.
For me, Michael Jordan was a killer. It didn't matter. He wanted to come in and kill you.
What motivates me is the unknown. No one knows. They can all speculate, but no one really knows. And myself, I didn't know. But I didn't let that stop me. And I let that motivate me more so than anything. That as long as it's unknown, that means I have a chance. And that's the way I pursued my whole career.
No matter what the game is, or who you're playing against, you have to want the ball, the clock, the pressure. Block all that out. All you think about is what you have to do to win. That's why I love the end of the game, because it comes down to that one moment when it's all in my hands. I don't always have to hit the last shot, but I do have to walk away knowing I did everything I could to win the game. When you step on the floor, it doesn't matter how many times you've done it before. All that matters is that you do it now. Those are the moments you put in the hours of practice for. Those are the ones you never forget.
I never feared about my skills, because I put in the work. Work ethic eliminates fear. So if you put forth the work, then what are you fearing? You know what you're capable of doing, what you're not.
I've never been afraid. I mean, obviously you're nervous, but afraid means you're not confident in your skills. I have total confidence in my skills, so I'm not afraid. Be true to the game. Because the game will be true to you. If you try to shortcut the game, then the game's going to shortcut you. If you put forth the effort, good things will be bestowed upon you. That's truly about the game. And in some ways, that's about life too.
Time when we heed a certain call, when the world must come together as one. There are people dying. Oh, it's time to lend a hand to life, the greatest gift of all. We can go on pretending day by We are the world. We are the children. Make a brighter day, so let's start giving. We're saving our own lives. A better day, just you and me.
of the 200 and however many years we've been in existence, we've been at war 90% of those years. Fighting this person, fighting that person, fighting the Native American tribes, fighting the Civil War, fighting the Spanish, fighting in World War I, fighting in World War II, fighting in Korea, fighting in Vietnam, fighting in Iraq. The fighting goes on and on and on and on and on and on and on. Now we've been in Afghanistan for 17 years? 17 years. I don't know who we're fighting over there, but we're there for 17 years. You'd think the victory would be proclaimed at some point. But at any rate, what you see that this idea that without a moral code that says thou shalt not kill from a supernatural entity, i.e. the creator, the moral code that exists on earth without him is a moral code that has no foundation whatsoever. It's kill or be killed. And under those circumstances, I've seen atheists argue, well, look, we can reach a fundamental agreement between us, an ethical agreement that we're not going to kill each other. Maybe, but what if I don't want to agree with that? I could choke you to death right here and now, and you would have no moral reason why I shouldn't do it. Because I can, therefore I should. That's what situational ethics are. Okay, there are no absolutes. And I've heard many existentialists argue, and they'll say, oh, well, there are no absolutes. And I say to them, well, do you mean that absolutely? Or is there an exception? And if there is an exception, then that means there's one absolute, in which case your whole premise falls apart. And if you're saying there are no absolutes, that itself is an absolute, right? But under situational ethics, there are no moral standards, merely temporal agreements among people at war with one another. Okay. Next slide. Since Yah is capable of being perceived, known through the senses, the denial of Yah requires some other form of sensual foundation. So when you're talking about knowledge here, you either have a knowledge that there is a creator, and you have a knowledge that he's responsible for that which exists. And you have the knowledge that he is a Yah who hears, who sees, who understands, who is conscious, and who speaks. You either know this or you don't. And if you don't know this, then those people who do know this appear to you to be absolutely insane and off their rocker. You believe in a God that speaks? What are you, some kind of a drifty? I mean, they give you this kind of attitude, right? You pray, you think there's somebody in heaven that's listening to you? What are you, some kind of a whack job? We all know that the only thing that exists is what my eyes can see, what my nose can smell, what my fingers can touch, what my tongue can taste, right? This is the only thing that exists. So with these people, it's very easy to say, well, look, Abraham Lincoln didn't exist at all. When you talk about any kind of history whatsoever, there's no single person here that was alive back in 1800 to be able to tell us what existed. We have to rely on somebody telling us the story. And then how do we know that it's true? Well, Scripture tells us by the testimony of two or three witnesses, the matter can be established. Assuming that those witnesses are willing to tell you the truth. Assuming there's no willing liar in the mix who's bearing false witness, which is why we have the command, thou shalt not bear false witness, because when you bear false witness, you destroy all of the historical record and the ability for every single human being to know beyond that which he immediately perceives himself. And so when you're in that kind of a situation, if you're stuck in a situation, I only believe what I perceive right in front of me. You don't know if there's a downtown distant from where you're sitting right now. You don't know what exists around the corner. You have to rely on some kind of a construct, some kind of testimony that exists in your mind to tell you that there is something there, okay? Now, when you talk about people who say, well, there is no Yah, these are people, these terrorists, there is no creator, there is no Yah, therefore what? Well, then they're going to build their foundation on something. But when you realize that they cannot accept the idea that, gee, I can accept something as truth predicated upon the witnesses of two or more people. No, I can only believe that which I perceive. And so as a result, you see that all of their truth is premised upon either sexual functionality or scatological discharge. Now, when I say this to you, it's very easy to demonstrate. You go to any, cable show, or you go to a lot of the YouTube channels out there, or you go to a lot of the other discussion that's out there, and you see people that are in the pop world, the mainstream world, the non-believing world, and everything that they use to describe anything has to have some tie to either sexual functionality or scatological discharge, period. They use 4-letter words to describe these things, and those 4-letter words appear as adverbs, adjectives, pronouns, proper nouns, for heaven's sakes, everything. And so pretty soon you see people describing the whole world as these things. And once they do, once you begin to describe the world in these 4-letter words, you lose the cognitive tool to correctly describe that which exists. Because you're describing it as the same way you're describing this person, the same way you describe this car, the same way you describe this road, the same way you describe that store, the same way you describe the couch you're sitting on, right? Oh, that's a POS, right? Well, it's not, but you can't identify it. After a certain number of years of calling everything that, you can't identify what actually exists because you don't know the words. And your mind does not know the concept because you have not caused recognition to be associated with the term that correctly identifies it.
Bristol.
Good luck today.
Thank you. I've worked as a cashier for Iceland for 2 years and 7 months, and they're all lovely people in there. They all know I sing as well, so when it's like Christmas time, they're like, Dan, sing over the Christmas songs.
I'll be more nervous for you as well.
You'll be more nervous than I am.
Yeah.
Me and my mum, we're like this. I help her out all the time. We do our shopping. We usually just go Asda.
He is a mummy's boy. We do everything together. I take him to work, pick him up from work.
We sit and watch our soaps together. Like, we'll wait for each other to come home. If we're not at home, and we'll wait until they're home. I know I shouldn't sound like lazy, but you know, gotta sit and watch telly sometimes.
He's always been very theatrical. He always loved Disney films as a child, and his favourite was Beauty and the Beast. Believe it or not, he used to put a tea towel on his head and flick his head about and pretend he was Belle.
Get in there, do your thing. On you go.
I always say to my mum, we should go down to X Factor and like, wait in the queue to see where it takes it. And now we're here. Hiya.
Hello.
Hello.
And what's your name?
Daniel Quick.
I love it. Are you quick?
No.
Oh, all right then.
I love that.
I know.
Daniel, where are you from?
Bristol.
Okay, how old are you, Daniel?
18.
Do you work or are you at college and school?
I'm part-time student, part-time retail assistant. I work in Iceland as a cashier, mainly.
Who's the most well-known customer you've ever had and why?
Oh no, never anyone famous. Never
No?
anyone.
So you never see Peter Andre?
Never.
Because I was led to believe in the commercials every week.
Yeah, no one famous.
Do you live at home?
I live at home, yeah, with my mum, dad, and my sister, and a lot of pets.
I knew you'd have pets. What do you have?
4 dogs, a tortoise, a ferret, a cockatiel, and 15 fish.
What's the tortoise's name?
Shelley.
It's
Quite a coincidence.
just the one. Just the boy.
Just the one.
All right, Daniel. And tell me what you would love to happen if you won the show.
Singing, I've always loved doing singing. And I just want to carry on doing it. I'd rather not work in a retail job for the rest of my life. So
Okay, and tell me what you're going to sing.
I'm going to sing your song.
Good luck, darling.
Good luck.
Come on. It's a little bit funny, this feeling inside. I'm not one of those who can easily hide. I don't have much money, but boy, if I did, I'd buy a big house where we both could live. And you can tell everybody that this is your song.